first and foremost, happy Monday, pal. Isn't it nice to come into a Monday with a nice win under our belts? I've missed this feeling.
Yeah, it is indeed. Like I was just saying to you then, just before we went live, I think it was a much needed win yesterday. In terms of, obviously we needed the win in the FA Cup to advance to the next round, but I think more importantly, having looked a little bit off the boil on Thursday night against Chelsea, especially with Liverpool coming up in a few days' time, I think it was a very important victory, and a very important for us to perform well, which I thought we did yesterday against Newcastle.
It literally reminded me of schoolboys, teachers versus lads, and it was men against boys, wasn't it? It was a different level. I don't know that first half. I don't know what Newcastle thought their tactics were, but we just seemed up for it, didn't we? We just seemed right up for it. And they just, was it something like 170 passes in the first 15 minutes compared to 15 or something
ridiculous like that? And I think it was it 85% possession that we had after 25 minutes as well, which I know under Guardiola you expect to see a lot of the ball, but 85% possession is quite absurd, really. That's for two Premier League clubs to come up against each other, and for one team to dominate like that. I don't care what end of the table both sides are at. Like you said, it was literally men against boys. We just seemed to have just too much for them in every aspect of the game yesterday.
Yeah, it's pretty good, wasn't it? And one thing I did notice, I've been to Newcastle a few times, but don't the stands look massive with no supporters in?
Yeah,
I do like St James's Park. I'm lucky enough to have been there a couple of times. I've got a lot of love for Newcastle fans as well. They seem to be a good bunch.
Yeah,
and they were missed yesterday. But bloody hell, that's a big stadium, isn't it? I won't be surprised if that deal comes through very quickly for them to get bought out. I just hope Mike Ashley stops dicking around so they can go in the right direction.
I seen someone put on Facebook, which made me chuckle. He put a picture on one of the City groups of his iPad on the floor, and he was sat on top of a step ladder, and he'd said, in homage to Newcastle away, and he was watching this tiny little iPad on the floor from the top of his ladder in his living room, and I thought that's absolutely quality.
It's so true, because it's like a vertical walk as well as you're walking up the stairs. You feel like a step ladder. That's brilliant. I like that. That's really clever. I wish I'd thought
a big fan. I just think, how do you think of that? How do you think? You know what's good? I'll get my step ladder out and I'll watch the game from my iPad at the top of my ladder.
Oh, how do you think Otamendi did yesterday? Because I think yesterday would have been a good game for him, but he made one or two. He had a little slip, didn't he, which led to the Newcastle goal, and he passed it to one of the Newcastle players, which obviously drawed in a bit of a shambles, didn't it, against Chelsea? Yeah, so I was looking for a big reaction from him. How do you think he got on?
Yeah, I mean, exactly that. In that mistake that led to what should have been the goal when Dwight Gale missed what was obviously an absolute sitter. I don't understand how he's missed that. But for all of our dominance in the game, that should go in, and then it's 1-1 with half an hour to go, and you'd like to think we'd still go on and win the game. I think, was it only a couple of minutes after that we went 2-0 up. So again, like we said on Thursday night, it's those defensive mistakes, which thankfully that one didn't cost us yesterday.
Yeah.
But it should have done, because Dwight Gale should be finishing that every day of the week. So we got away with one there. I think for large parts he looked comfortable as I've seen him look in recent weeks, or in recent games, I should say. But it's just those little mistakes that if you make a mistake like that against the likes of Liverpool, they're gonna score a goal. Like I say, really, Dwight Gale should be in the back of the net there anyway. So no, I think he was okay. I think again, but not amazing. And I think with all the talks of who we might have coming in at centre half in the summer, when you hear some of the names we've been linked with, you've got to be performing better than that if you want to say to Guardiola, look, you don't need to go and spend 70 million quid on a Koulibaly because you've got me here. And I think his days at City are numbered. And if I'm honest, I think if Garcia is fit after that head injury against Arsenal, and if he's good to play, I don't think we'll see an awful lot of Otamendi coming down the end of the season. I do think he's slowly slipping down the pecking order in terms of our centre halves.
Yeah, the problem we've got is those mistakes, they're not rarities. They're very often, aren't they? We've seen a few mistakes. And we do that in the Champions League, we're going to be out very quickly. If we've got a hope of winning the Champions League, we need to start eradicating those silly errors, because the more they come, the more they're going to cost us, unfortunately. And like you say, we do that with Mane in front of goal, with Salah in front of goal, Fabinho in front of goal. We're we're getting beat there, or we're drawing. They're scoring those goals, and that's exactly the same in the Champions League. I really want Garcia to play on Thursday night. I really want Foden to play on Thursday night. I just feel like Foden needs to be getting as many games as he can at the moment, particularly against the Liverpools of the world for next season, getting prepared and ready. Can I get your thoughts on? Now, I'll tell you my standpoint on this first. But what's your thoughts on Bravo playing yesterday? Because I realise that Bravo is the cup keeper, isn't he? He's the FA Cup and the League Cup keeper, which is fine, understandable. That's fine. He plays the games. But for me, he's, I believe, leaving at the end of this season. Okay, so he's going to be leaving, and the FA Cup is, for me, the best chance we've got of winning another trophy this season. Because of our defensive frailties, I don't think we'll do it in the Champions League, although I really want us to. So why would you, as Pep, play a goalkeeper that's leaving? What I'm trying to say is put Bravo in the Premier League. If we need to do that swapping round of goalkeepers, if we need Edison to have a bit more rest, etc., resting him. Why are we playing Bravo in the main trophy that we've got to win in this year? I don't get that. Yeah. I'd love to be a psychologist around Pep's head.
I tell you what, you'd learn some stuff, wouldn't you? Yeah, very much. When you were saying that, then I was thinking, you've got to give him some game time. But then I didn't even think of the concept of just playing him in the Premier League, because, like you say, the FA Cup is now more important to Manchester City than the Premier League, because we're not going to drop out the top four. We're going to finish second. No one's going to come up. No one's going to overtake us. So we are going to be in the Champions League next season. Court of Arbitration of Sport, pending, whatever you want to call it. But yeah, it's a very good point. I've always, obviously, all the big clubs, to have a good second keeper, you need to obviously give them the promise of cup competitions or something like that to keep them interested. But like you say, with him leaving at the end of the season and with the FA Cup being as important as it is, I totally agree with you on that. I'd say you'd like to hope that Edison will be starting in that semi-final against Arsenal. If that means playing Bravo in a couple of league games against, I don't know, we've got Newcastle coming up at home and a couple of teams like that, then I'd be 100% for that. I'd say we need those trophies again, like we said a couple of shows ago. The fact that these ridiculously high standards that are set at City is that if we don't win another trophy and we just win the League Cup and finish second, then it's a bad season. You'd like to think that Pep would be going all guns blazing in that semi-final. But that being said as well, I was slightly disappointed that Foden didn't start yesterday when we were just saying about obviously Foden playing on Thursday. I thought seeing as he didn't start against Chelsea in the week, I thought he would have been one of the first names on the team sheet against Newcastle yesterday. I don't know about yourself, but I definitely thought that Foden, I thought he looked good when he came on as well, but I definitely thought he should have started yesterday.
Yeah, he looked poised and controlled and balanced, didn't he, in everything he did, and he looked like he got a real good measure of the ball as well. It's disappointing to say this, but David Silva seems to have given the ball away several times yesterday, and it's a good job he's retiring now. I love David Silva, and I'm going to give him the best send-off we can imaginable, but now is the time for him to move on to pastures new and for Foden to take over, because Foden is chomping at the bit. I'm really excited to see this bright young English talent ready to storm the Premier League next season. I was really disappointed he didn't play against Newcastle, but that gives me hope that he's going to start against Liverpool, and I really hope he does. God, I really hope he does.
I tell you what as well with Foden, what really excited me yesterday is that we've seen him play centrally for the EDS, for the under-18s. We've seen him play that central role off the bench quite a bit for City. But the last couple of games, he's been playing out on the right. He played out on the right quite a bit for quite a large portion of the game against Burnley, and then did the same again yesterday. And now don't get me wrong, I'm not comparing Phil Foden to Messi. I'm not saying Phil Foden's at the level of Messi. I'm not trying to say that. But genuinely, in the way that he plays and the way when Messi started his career playing on the right and then coming in from the right with the ball, and he did it yesterday for the second goal. He picked up the ball off Laporte on the right and then drove straight centrally into the centre of the pitch as soon as he took off, and then obviously found Sterling, who scored. And he just seems so comfortable on the ball. He just seems to love having the ball at his feet. And I do think he'll play centrally next season when Silva goes, and I do think he'll take that in-between attacking mid and defensive midfield role where he'll just be given free rein. But I like him on the right as well. I think when he's played on the right, because he's got such an eye for goal, and he's so direct with the ball at his feet, I think he doesn't look out of depth wherever Pep Guardiola plays him. And I think I was saying this on one of the podcasts I did this morning. I was saying, if you didn't know Phil Foden was a 19, 20-year-old lad and you were just watching the game as a neutral, you could, the way he plays and the way he holds himself on the pitch, he could be one of those experienced players. He could be a De Bruyne in the fact that he doesn't look like he's a teenage lad playing with his boyhood club. He looks like a player who's been in that side for 5, 6, 7 years, and that's real testament to his ability as a footballer for me. I think, like you said, it's very exciting, and I'm very excited to see, hopefully, him get a lot of minutes at the back end of this season. But if not, definitely excited to see him replace David Silva and hopefully play a big part in our hopeful success next season.
Hopefully, yeah. I really enjoyed the intensity from the team yesterday. We seemed to have that 6-second rule back in force, didn't we? Where we were hunting in packs to get the ball back, which is brilliant determination to win the ball back. We just seem to have a constant tempo that Newcastle just didn't have any answers for. Just didn't have any answers for at all. And I'm not too sure I didn't pay that much attention to Newcastle's formation, so I don't know what changes they made in the second half. But they seemed to come out stronger, didn't they? They seemed to come out more resilient. Obviously, Steve Bruce had a good chat with him. Speaking of Steve Bruce, do you see that thing he did with Kevin De Bruyne
after the game? Yeah, I thought that was quality. I rated that. I like that. I did.
If anyone knows what we're talking about, Steve Bruce walked past Kevin De Bruyne getting interviewed on the touchline and interrupted the interview by saying he's looking forward to Kevin's bored of playing for City now and he's going to play for Newcastle and look forward to seeing him in Newcastle shirt soon and stuff like that. It's brilliant, cracking banter by him. I like Steve Bruce, so yeah, fair play to him. But yeah, I wanted to bring up Sterling as well. Sterling just seems to be a bit on fire at the moment. He seems to come back with a renewed passion for driving himself forward and winning, which is obviously he's been a bit blighted in front of goal this season, hasn't he? So it's good to see that old Raheem, ruthless Raheem back. Yeah,
I mean he had a few chances yesterday. No real. Obviously he got his goal. I think he had 3 or 4 or 5 shots. But it's just like you say, it's just nice to see that he's got that confidence in front of goal backing, that he's taking on these chances, albeit he's not scoring with every chance he gets, but Sterling's never been a massively clinical finisher. I know he scores a lot of goals, but he's not the kind of player who you see with the ball 25 yards out and think, oh, this is going in, like you do with the likes of De Bruyne if he gets space from distance. But no, he looks to be like reinvigorated. He looks like he's raring to go, and that's obviously with a lot still to play for this season. That's a sight that is a very positive one to see. He took his goal really well as well yesterday. It was like you say, like the Sterling that we've expected, given the way he started the season. Obviously, he went off the boil a little bit, but no, he definitely looks to have come out of this lockdown raring to go, and hopefully, long may it continue until the end of the season.
Yeah, it was funny when I say funny in the loosest term when. Carroll got booked he kept going into Laporte, didn't he, like the 3rd time, and it was just obvious what he was doing. It's like, what are you doing, mate? Come on.
Yeah.
You've got to be careful with that, hasn't he?
Yeah, I think it's frustration for Carroll. I think he's had, obviously he was touted as being one of the next big things, weren't he? Like when he was at Newcastle on that first spell before he went to Liverpool, and then injuries have kind of ruined his career essentially. But no, but then we mentioned the passing stats and all of that earlier in the show, and talking about how they'd had, I think, 16 passes in the first 25 minutes. And as a striker playing against a team like Man City, you're not going to see a lot of the ball. But I don't even think Andy Carroll could have expected to see that little of the ball. I mean, I don't even know if he had. I don't even remember him necessarily touching the ball, let alone. But he probably fouled Laporte more than he got touches in the game. So yeah, he's always been a bit of a. I don't know the nice way of putting it. A bit of a one when it comes to
put himself about.
Off the ball.
Puts himself about, doesn't he? That's what you like.
Yeah, that's the one. That's the nicest way of putting it.
That's the nicest way. Yeah. What's your thoughts on Mendy? He's always an interesting one, isn't he?
He's so frustrating, isn't he? He just is so frustrating because, again, yesterday, there was a couple of balls that he put in which were absolutely, like, on the money. And for me, Jesus has got to be doing better in terms of being in the position to get on the end of those crosses. But I said it. I've said it before. He really reminds me of Kolarov, and the fact that going forward he's very good, and you expect him to deliver these crosses and do things going forward, but you just never know what he's going to do defensively. You never know if he's going to give the ball away on the edge, on the halfway line like he did against Chelsea. Like, he's so hit and miss. But for 52 million quid, you don't want hit and miss. For 52 million quid, you want a defender who is going to be putting in 7, 8 out of 10 performances every week, both going forward and defensively, which is what Mendy's failing to do at the moment and has been failing to do for large parts of his City career. His injuries haven't helped him. But now I hope that he can stay fit for the rest of the season. I hope that now that there's not as much pressure on him in the league and he's got a little bit of that pressure eased off him in the fact that the league really doesn't matter for us now. Hopefully he can start to find his feet a little bit defensively, because with the talks of spending 70, 80 million on Koulibaly or whoever as a centre-half, I'm sure Guardiola and I'm sure the club don't want to have to think about going and investing in a left-back as well. And we shouldn't need to, having spent that money on Mendy only two seasons ago, was it? But he definitely needs to start performing defensively to a much higher quality than he is at the minute. Otherwise, we are going to need to look at where we go after that, because we can't be worried about Mendy making a mistake every time that he's got the ball on the halfway line or every time teams are coming up against him, especially, like we say, coming into the last stage of the Champions League. You think of some of the right wingers, you think of the likes of Messi. Imagine Messi coming up against Mendy for 90 minutes. Like, that's a sight that that fills me with that fills me with an awful lot of fear. So we need to try and get it wrapped up as soon as we can heading into those Champions League stages. It's
funny. We had Steve Brown in one of our admins, who's our transfer guru. He said Koulibaly is 90% done from what he's hearing on the grapevine, which is a lot of money for a 20. I say, do you know what? I say this, and I keep arguing myself with this. How much was 70-odd million for a 29-year-old? Kevin De Bruyne has just turned 79. He's just turned 29, and you wouldn't bat an eyelid for spending 70 million on him, would you? So, you know, if he, I know it's kind of hard in different positions and so forth, but if we have an opportunity to bring in a defender to shore up our extremely fragile defence, I think 70 million would be a bargain. Is he the same age of Van Dijk as well? 29? Yeah,
he's around that. But I tell you what, the thing is that I am a big fan of Koulibaly. I think he's a centre-half that will fit perfectly into the Premier League. He's big, he's strong, he's quick. I don't know how good he is on the ball, because I can't say that I've watched enough of Napoli to say that he's good on the ball. But from what I've seen of him playing in the Champions League and so on, he seems to be ready-made for the Premier League. And I think the thing is that a few people turn their nose up at the fact that Liverpool paid 70-odd million quid for Van Dijk a couple of years ago, saying, 70, 80 million quid on a centre-half, like, what are you doing? Look at, like, why are you going to spend that much money on a centre-half? But you look at what Van Dijk's done for Liverpool, and I'm not saying Koulibaly's as good as Van Dijk, and I'm not trying to compare the two as players, but Liverpool had the issue at centre-half in that they had Lovren, who was a liability, who was causing them problems, he was making mistakes, Liverpool were losing games because of it. Yeah. We have that same issue at centre-half in that we have Laporte, who is obviously one of the best centre-halves, for me the best left-footed centre-half in the world when he's fit. But we can't, there's no point in turning up the opportunity, regardless of his age, of getting a defender. If a defender as good as Koulibaly's available and he wants to come to City and we've got the money to spend on him, I just can't see why we'd turn that down. I think what I don't want is us to go out and not invest in a centre-half again, and then Laporte gets injured at the start of next season, or whatever happens, and then we end up in the same position that we were this season with having to change our centre-half partnership every game, because that's something else which I think has done us quite a lot of damage this year, is the fact that we have had to mess about with our back four so much because of lack of form for some players, injuries to others. If we want to take the league back next season, which I do still think Man City have got the best squad in the Premier League, regardless of how many points Liverpool have won the league by, we need to have more. Going forward, we've got enough players to change that, and I don't think that matters so much. But for me, your back four has to be set in stone and only really changing because of injuries and because you need to change it, rather than going, Otamendi made a mistake this week, so we'll try Fernandinho this week, and then Stones is back, so we'll bring him in and see if he works. You just need that consistency. And all the great Man City sides of recent times, you got your Company and Lescott, and you've got whoever else, your Company and Laporte, that played 30 of the 38 Premier League games as a partnership. And I think if Koulibaly is available and he wants to come to City, I don't care if it's going to cost us 70 million quid. him and Laporte would be, for me, the best centre-half partnership in the Premier League and potentially in Europe. So I think if he's available and he wants to come, then we've got to take him. I don't think it's one where we're gonna turn our noses up at an extra 10, 15 million quid, because for me we've got to sort out that centre half thing.
If it's the cost, if 15, 20 million quid's the cost of us winning the Premier League again, then it's going to be well worth it, isn't it? Michael Stridgen's come back onto the point in regards to left backs of bringing Chilwell in. Yeah, I've got a lot of time for Chilwell. I wouldn't argue with that. I'd wonder how much he'd cost us. I don't think he'd come cheap, would he?
No, I think he's one that's linked with us like near enough every summer. I always see his name mentioned when the transfer rumours come out. But I think Chelsea are favourites to get him at the moment. But again, I don't read too deeply into who's favourites to sign who until he's signed on the dotted line. But if he's available, and I think I saw quite a few Leicester fans on Twitter who weren't so happy with him in the fact that he was laughing and joking with the Chelsea players after they knocked him out of the cup at the weekend. So I think if he's available and he comes for a reasonable price, given that we've already got a £52 million left back, albeit not performing like one at the club, he's one that I'd love to see him at City. I think he's a very good player, and I think he'd do really well under Guardiola.
Yeah, what we're missing with Aguero being out at the minute is a proper fox in the box. Jesus needs to shoot more. He seems to have that mentality of a David Silva, where he wants to take on one more man to have it before he can have a shot. It's just, I just get so frustrated. I wish we had a striker with Jesus' ability and Mahrez's mindset of, you know what, I see the goalkeeper, I'm going to bloody shoot. Yeah. I'd love that. I think he'd get 30 goals a season, wouldn't he? Because the striker. Yeah, I'm very much think so. Anyway.
Yeah, I'm mixed on Jesus, mate, because his record for City, I think it came up before the game yesterday. His record, especially with Aguero not playing, he scored a lot of goals for us, and he does get a lot of goals. But I still think that he's just not. He's not quite good enough to be our first choice striker. Because I always say any striker in Manchester City's side should be scoring at least 15, 20 goals a season because of the amount of chances they get. But I just don't think Jesus is. I don't know if he's better suited to a La Liga or to a Serie A, where it's not quite as physical. He's got a little bit more space, and he can do these tricky things that he likes to do. But he, I don't know. It worries me, the thought of Aguero. If I think of Aguero potentially getting injured for 6 months and thinking that Jesus is the only striker we've got, I don't feel confident that we're going to go out and win a lot of games. But he's still only young, and if he gets time in the team, usually when he gets a run of games, he gets a few goals. So it's a really strange one. He's not a bad player by any stretch of the imagination, but I still don't think he's quite at that level to be a starting striker for us at the moment.
I'm just hoping that he does come through, because obviously he's been with us for a while now, and he's itching for Aguero's shirt, isn't he, when he comes through. He's all we've got at the moment, unless we play that false attacker, false striker position. Do you think he'll start against Liverpool, or do you think he'll play as Sterling up front, or whatever?
I don't know. I think it'd be good to see him start against Liverpool. I think if Aguero's injury is going to keep him out for a while, as it's expected to, I think we need Jesus to get a run of games to build up some confidence and to build up some form. Like we keep saying, going into the semi-finals of the FA Cup and the Champions League, we need a striker who is in form going into those games. I don't want to come up against Real Madrid in that second leg, and then hopefully further down the line having to either put in an out-of-form striker or play with a false nine. I know a false nine has worked, and it worked wonders when we went away to Madrid in the first leg, but it didn't work against Chelsea. So it's very hit and miss. I'd like to see Jesus start. Like I said, as much as I'm still a bit sceptical on whether or not he is at that level to be a first choice striker into the future, he is the only recognised striker that we've got in terms of senior players at the club at the moment. And I do think if he can find his form, he's going to do well, but he needs to find that form pretty quickly before Guardiola then starts looking towards that false nine and thinking, we'll give Bernardo a shot there for a game, or De Bruyne a shot there for a game. So we'll see, but I'd like to see him start against Liverpool on Thursday.
Yeah, I think we need to give Jesus a chance. I feel like the nicest possible way to Sergio, this is Jesus' chance now to really cement that position and really make it his own. I think that's the only. This is going to be a prime opportunity for him. It really is. And one thing to bring back from yesterday's game is another penalty, another goal. Yeah. Can you believe at some point this season we had issues with penalties?
I know, it's crazy, isn't it? I think De Bruyne missed his first one, didn't he, for us? I think when we played Everton and we missed 2 penalties in one game, and I think that was when the curse first started to make an appearance. But no, it's weird that as a fan you see your side get a penalty and you're worried. Like, you should be thinking, well, 9 times out of 10 you're scoring this, but every time we get a penalty, I'm just like, I don't want it.
Yeah, I don't want to look who's taking it.
We'll see what happens. Although we've not had a whole lot of luck with corners in recent years either. So no, but yeah, De Bruyne looks comfortable on the penalties now, and I don't think we've got a better player in the side who can hit a dead ball like De Bruyne can. So if he's going to carry on scoring him and keep him on him, I'm just
confident with him, isn't he? He just genuinely looks like it's going in.
Yeah, I think that's it. I think he gives me a bit more confidence than if you have a Mahrez or whoever stepping up to take it.
What was the lad thinking of doing that? I mean, let's face it, City battered before that goal. We battered at the door with everything we could do, and to give away such a stupid penalty from Newcastle's point of view, I don't understand what the lad was thinking.
It was a strange one, wasn't it? Because he actually got him twice, didn't he? He had him with his forearm a little bit, and then that didn't send him to the ground. So he was like, I'll just put both hands on you and throw you to the ground with VAR in place. Although I think the referee did well to spot it in real time. It was so obvious what he was doing. But what I really thought was quite confusing with Newcastle yesterday was how shaky they looked from set pieces. I think we looked like Laporte had a header just shy of half time that was just inches wide. And you think the one thing that most of these lower table Premier League clubs have got over City is the fact that they're all big physical sides. And you think the one way we're not going to score is from a corner or from a dead ball situation where it's being swung into the box. But they just weren't at the races yesterday, Newcastle. And I think the goal was always going to come. It felt like we were always going to score. But to give us a way into the match like that with such an unnecessary challenge was crazy.
Yeah, and we didn't see Sane again. Another game where we didn't see Sane. I'm 50-50 of whether we see him play again, or I can understand why he's on the bench because obviously he's there and you want him for his worst case scenarios. But in the same aspects I said about Bravo before, why would you even consider playing him if he wants to leave and wants to be off next season? I'd rather give the youngsters a chance. And I know the arguments for it. A full strength squad, you'd rather have Sane with you than against you, obviously. Yeah. But he's not. He can't. He's not going to start many games for us, is he, Sane? If any.
No. I don't think he will. I don't think he'll start many games at all. But at the same time, if you think again to those Champions League games that we've hopefully got coming up, and you think if we're playing, let's say hypothetically, we got Bayern Munich in the semi-final and it's a tight game, and you've got Sane on the bench, you want that option there, don't you? I couldn't see Guardiola not using him in those tightly contested games, because I think if you look at our squad, I don't think in terms of an impact sub, I don't think there's many better impact players we've got than Sane, given his athleticism, his agility, just how quick he is, his turn of pace and stuff like that is crazy. But I think at the end of the day, until he leaves Manchester City, he is still earning quite a lot of money and he is still one of our best players at the club. I completely agree that in the Premier League, I wouldn't play him. I'd use our youngsters. I'd use the Premier League now as a real opportunity to get these youngsters Premier League experience heading into next season. But when we're looking at the Champions League, the FA Cups, them latter stages, I think if the opportunity comes where we are in a tight game heading into those last 20, 30 minutes and we've got Sane on the bench and raring to go, I think we might as well get the most out of him while we can and use him as an impact player. I don't see him starting many games, but I do still think he might have a role to play in some hopeful success towards the end of the season.
Yeah, I think we've got enough games left as well. I mean, from winning that, I set up a horrible opportunity to play United in a cup final. A horrible opportunity to play United in a cup final. That's like, I hate derbies at the best of times. The idea of going to a cup final against United and losing, I would just want the earth to swallow me whole.
100%.
I'd rather play them in the semi and get knocked out the semi or win in the semi than go to a final. Oh, God, I tell you what. Yeah, come on, Chelsea.
You know what? Genuinely, though, the way that United played against Norwich on Friday, they were lucky to beat Norwich on Friday.
I've watched it as well, and it was 1-1, and I've turned it on, and they scored when I turned it on.
I was thinking, you got Tim Krul in net, Norwich, haven't they? And he's one of the best keepers when it comes to penalties. I thought they'd do a job on him, but no, I think given the way that if United play like they played against Norwich and Chelsea play the way that they've been playing, I can't see United beating Chelsea anyway. But yeah, like you say, that the prospect of getting beat, because they've turned us over too many times this season as well, United, given the fact that we are just so much better than them. And the thought of getting beat by them in the FA Cup final honestly fills me with so much fear. But the one positive, if it was to happen, would be that no one would be there to see it, so we could just pretend it happened. But it's the concept of an FA Cup final
didn't happen. Just turn the
no, exactly. If you weren't there to see it, it never happened. But the concept of an FA Cup final against United is really exciting. But like you say, as a Manchester City fan, even though we are now better than Manchester United, we've experienced too much pain against them in the past to know that Derby Day is never going to be easy.
We've got Arsenal to play first, obviously. Which they're going to be all good. And City will be right up for a derby again, because we need to end the season on a high and beat United in a final. Pep is going to have those players so wound up after that last game. I'd be confident as I would. But we've got to look at Arsenal again, and we can't keep looking at Arsenal as a training team. I know the last 8 games we've ridiculous scores and all the rest of it, but we can't look at Arsenal and think this is going to be a walkover. It's really not. It's going to be a completely different game against them in the semi-final.
100%. I think we own one as well, because they knocked us out in the semi-final a couple of years ago, didn't they, when there was that dodgy call on Sane's cross, which they said went out of play and it never did. But no, I think you're right in that we can't keep looking at Arsenal as a training game, but I do still think that if you'd have given me the option of who I wanted in the semi-final of the 3 teams that were left in terms of who I think would be the easiest game, I'd have gone with Arsenal.
Fair point.
I do still think, if you look at, the FA Cup will come after both sides have had quite a few games in the league, and they'll be back to near enough the highest quality that they can be at given the situation. But if you look at the game from a couple of weeks ago, we just seemed better than them in every area of the pitch. I don't think at any point in that game I was worried that we weren't going to win. And I do think that we'll beat Arsenal in the semi-final, and I do think we'll do it quite comfortably, seeing as we are at our second home, given that we're there every couple of weeks. So I do think we'll beat them, but no, by no means by no means should we underestimate them. And I'm pretty sure that Guardiola will be making that point clear in the changing rooms, that these are still they are still a world-class squad, and they do still have a lot of players that can do a lot of damage to the side. So if they're on the game, it'll be a good game. But I think we'd have to seriously underperform, and I think they'd have to seriously overperform for them to knock us out in that semi-final.
I've just seen a cracking stat. City have won their last 10 FA Cup matches by an aggregate score of 37-4. So let me just repeat that. City have won their last 10 FA Cup matches by an aggregate of 37-4. They're only the 3rd team to achieve this run of victories since the turn of the 20th century, after Aston Villa, Chelsea. Crikey, 37-4. That's bonkers.
That is quite something. That is quite something.
Another little stat for you before we leave. Phil Foden, who set up Sterling, has had his hand in 7 goals in just 6 FA Cup appearances for City, scoring 4 and assisting 3. Get him starting against Newcastle.
Yeah, he loves it. He does. 100%. He loves it. He should be starting on Thursday, and hopefully he will. But I just like to see how much you can just tell how much it means to Foden every time he's on the pitch. But he never looks happy. And I think that's his his experience as a Man City fan know that it's always difficult. But even when he scores, he never seems to smile. He's just like, right, we scored, we're on to the next one, and we go again. But that's the mindset of a winner, that is. He's never happy until the final whistle's gone and we got the win. So,
like that.
Yeah.
We're going to talk briefly, before I'm going to let you go, we're going to talk briefly about Liverpool. We're going to do something tomorrow about Liverpool, aren't we? But, well, have you got a rough idea of the team you'd play? Because I've been talking to you, I've jotted 2 teams down.
For us, for Man City.
City against Liverpool.
I did all right with my prediction for the Chelsea game. I
was one out.
Yeah, I was one out as well. I think I'd have to Mendy in instead of Fernandinho, but hey-oh. Obviously, you're going to have Edison in goal. I think Mendy will play again with Laporte and hopefully Garcia if he's fit. If Garcia isn't fit, Fernandinho's back, isn't he? He's only a 1-game ban for that red card against Chelsea. So I'd have Fernandinho and Laporte. Obviously, Walker at right back, and then I don't know. I think he'll look to go a little bit conservative in that he'll play Rodri, but I think he'll then play.
Is Fernandinho's right? Was it only a 1 game?
I'd presume so, because it's not, unless it's his second red of the season. Is it his second red of the season?
I don't know.
It's normally.
Was it a straight red?
Yeah, it's only 3-game ban if it's violent conduct, isn't it?
Right. Okay,
so
that's why I'm getting confused. Okay.
Presuming that he's available for selection, I'd say Fernandinho, but I'd have Rodri playing with De Bruyne, and if I'm saying what I'd like to see, I'd like to see De Bruyne and Foden, and then I'd go Sterling, Mahrez, Jesus as my front 3. Right.
Okay. So I've gone for obviously Edison. I've gone for Walker. This is I've kind of gone with what I think and what I think will happen, but it's not really a view of what I want to happen. I've gone for Walker, Fernandinho, Laporte, and Mendy. I've gone for Gundogan because he'll play, guarantee he'll play.
Yeah,
and it's a funny one because I've put Rodri against Gundogan because obviously they're gonna come at us, so we need to be defensive, don't we? I'll talk to you with my second team in a minute. So I've got Gundogan and Rodri, with KDB, Sterling, Bernardo and Jesus up front. Now, part of me thinks if he was going to go more attacking, he wouldn't play Rodri. He'd play KDB a bit more deeper like he did against Newcastle. And just basically have him coming forward more. And have Foden come forward. Sorry, have Foden play. But I don't think he'll play Foden. I don't think he'll play Garcia. I think he'll go for that. But another idea I had was a back 5. So obviously Edison, Fernandinho, Laporte, Garcia, with Mendy and Walker as wing backs. Obviously tracking their wing backs as well. With Rodri in front of them, and at the 4 of Bernardo, KDB, Sterling, and Jesus. 1, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. It's a tricky one, isn't it? Because how's he going to play it? I can just see him doing some wild tactical change.
Yeah. See, I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, that team I said there would be what I'd go with, but I wouldn't be surprised if he played the false 9 in the fact that if you play someone like Bernardo there, because like you say, Liverpool are going to come at us, we are going to need to be, when we've got the ball, we're going to have to be more conservative with it than we would be if we were against a team like Newcastle at the weekend. And playing that false 9, if we have, say, Bernardo playing there, he can drop a bit deeper and collect the ball and play like that. And it just then means when Liverpool do have possession that we've got that extra man who can drop back into midfield. But like you say, it's so impossible to call a Guardiola starting 11. It wouldn't surprise me if you went with something like a false 9 and then had Sterling, Bernardo, Mahrez, all just interchanging throughout the game just to switch it up and to make life a bit more difficult for Van Dijk and Gomez. But it's so hard to call. I'll have to do a whole lot of revision tonight and try and get a perfect starting 11 written up.
I don't sleep much at the minute. I will generally have a notepad in my bed tonight myself. Right. Well, if I played Gundogan there, then you can have him playing as back. Yeah, I'll be.
Yeah, like you said, trying to get into Guardiola's brain is very difficult. You'd learn some very interesting stuff if you could do it, but I don't like it. It's so hard to think of what Guardiola's thinking, and I think that's what makes us so good. Is that no team who's coming up against us can sit down and go, well, this is the side that they're going to play, and this is how we can counteract it, because we just never play the same side. So
yeah, absolutely.
we can wait and see.
Brilliant. Right. Well, I love you and leave you, mate. Have a lovely evening. I'll speak to you tomorrow.
Yeah, you too, buddy. Catch up with you tomorrow.
Cheers, Blue. Catch you later.